It looked like it was going to be the most disastrous series for Cleveland possible. Then it began to look a lot like Christmas.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for quite a while now, and this is my 6th full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and where I'm doing double duty this year. I'm hosting Locked On A's as well as Locked On MLB. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Let's go over the trivia question. I said on the 2008 draft, who were the 3 future Cy Young Award winners who were drafted in that year? Let's see. Eric Brown -UU3NC says one of those Cy Youngs got to be Greinke. Nope, not Greinke. Big John 08865 says Madison Bumgarner, Corey Kluber, and Matt Harvey. Well, you got the right draft. All 3 of them were drafted that year. But Madison Bumgarner never won a Cy Young Award, and neither did Matt Harvey. The answers were the aforementioned David Price. You were right about Corey Kluber. And the other one was Rick Porcello. I bet you forgot that Rick Porcello won a Cy Young Award. All right. Well, look, that's a trivia question. We have the end of a trivia question coming up. But let's take a look at what ended this afternoon. Recording this Wednesday afternoon. It is the 28th day of August. And there's been a couple of very significant games that were going on here. But let's talk about the first and the craziest game, which was the one between Kansas City and Cleveland. On August 2nd, just 26 days ago, Cleveland was on a rampage and had a 6-game lead. Then they went on a 7-game losing streak. And remember, it's never the right day to lose 7 games in a row. But they followed that up with a 5-game winning streak, and they were back up to 4.5 games. So essentially, over the period of a couple of weeks, they dropped 2 games in the standings. They had a 4.5-game lead just 2 weeks ago. And then, even though they won a game against the Yankees and they won back-to-back games against Cleveland, on Monday, they dropped both ends of a doubleheader, including a massive grand slam off the bat of Salvador Perez. And then last night, they just got the doors blown off the dump on a 6-1 loss, which meant going into today, Kansas City caught them. Remember when Cleveland had the best record in baseball just about a month ago? And now they looked up and they realized, my God, it's worse than a dead heat because Kansas City owns the tiebreaker between the two. This was going to be one of those massive collapses. And they had a day game in front of friends and family. There was a very tiny crowd, by the way. I know Oakland gets a lot of crap and Tampa gets a lot of crap, but I guess 19,000 isn't so bad. But there have been a lot of empty seats. Yes, I grant you there have been rainouts and everything like that. But let's get back to it. Michael Massey of Kansas City homered. The Sasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino homered. He has 19 homers this year. Then Bobby Witt homers. He has 28 homers. And then Adam Frazier got an RBI hit. Then Michael Garcia got an RBI hit. They went to the bottom of the 7th, and Kansas City was up 5-2. Now, I'm, of course, at my job, so I can't sit around watching this game all day. But I'm like, holy cats. Cleveland's going to fall out of first place. Kansas City is going to go into their dump and sweep them out of first place, meaning that the Royals will be heading into the final weekend before Labor Day with destiny on their side. And then Bo Naylor says, hold my 10-cent beer, Cleveland. He got his 11th homer. And Josh Naylor, there's Bo Naylor, there's Josh Naylor. He got a single. Will Brennan got a single. And Jhonkensy Noel, the first Noel, he drove in Josh Naylor. And suddenly Cleveland had a 6-5 lead. And they would hold on to win 7-5. So they at least saved a little face. Not a lot, but at least they get to go out as they're in first place. Okay? This has been a really, really bad situation for them as they have dropped. They've only won 3 games since August 20th. Okay? They won 3 games in the last week. There goes my headphones. What's the matter with my headphones? Sorry about that. My headphones started slipping off my huge Irish head. So KC, who for a while looked like they were sparring with the Red Sox for the final wildcard spot, has a real shot to win the division. And maybe, well, they're not going to finish ahead of the Yankees. Well, wait a minute. They'll probably, now that I think about it, yeah, if they win the division, they'll probably get a bye. If they win a division the way this team's playing, you would have to look at this team as a pennant contender. A 100-loss team last year, a legitimate pennant contender this year. Now, this was supposed to be Cleveland's division to win. And after they beat up Minnesota at the beginning of the month, and they won the last 2 games against Minnesota. Then they swept the White Sox. It was like, okay, everything's back in charge. But then they got swept by Milwaukee. They lost 2 games to the Yanks. They're going to be playing the Pirates this weekend. Now, the Pirates, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, the Pirates did something truly special today. They had Paul Skeens on the mound, okay? Paul Skeens, their huge, big-time ace, the probable rookie of the year. And the Pirates scored 10 runs. They were up 10-3 after 5 innings. They said, Skeens, there you go. And then the Cubs went on to score 11 unanswered runs. They scored 10 runs in a Paul Skeens start and lost. They let up 6 runs in the top of the 9th inning. This is who the Pirates are right now. So Cleveland, you have to beat up the Pirates. Now again, I like the Pirates. I do. I think they're a fun team. I like to see them better. But if Cleveland wants to dust themselves off, they have to beat the snot out of the Pirates. Okay? It has to be an old-fashioned clubbing. Because what happens starting on Labor Day? They go to Kansas City. That's right. You want to have a little bit of a cushion, because if you're going to go to Kansas City and you didn't beat the tar out of the Pirates, Kansas City will be salivating. All KC has to do is tie, because they now own the tiebreaker over Cleveland. This is a huge monster series starting on Friday against the Pirates. Who would have thought that Cleveland-Pittsburgh would have so much influence? But here we are, ending September and ending October. What the hell month? August and ending September. Everything that Cleveland's worked for is building upon whether or not they kick the tar out of the Pirates, because then they have to go to KC, then they go to the Dodgers. This could be very, very bad for Cleveland if they don't start getting their act together. Meanwhile, Kansas City has a whole other challenge they have to meet. What is that challenge, you may ask? They are going to be heading to play the Astros. Now, the Astros had a tough time of it against Philadelphia, but guess what? They turned around and had let's call it quite a day. And it's an important day when it comes to the American League West, because wowzers, the Houston Astros showed up big, and they have to make sure that they will not be struggling against a resurgent Seattle Mariners club. All right, let's hear from our friends over at Liquid IV. It's really hot here in California. You got to stay hydrated. If you're going to be going to a ball game trying to stay hydrated, how are you going to do that? Eating ice cream out of one of those plastic helmets or pounding sodas? When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor. It's a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Blast off with the iconic summer flavor of Popsicle Firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on their website, from acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada. Tear, pour, live more. One stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, a trademark optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients. Always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you go indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. All right, let's talk to our friends over at Game Time. You should know, at this point, you should know everything about Game Time. It is the place to go get your tickets for whatever the event is. I'm going to a bunch of ball games coming up, but it's also great for seeing live shows. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And with Seat Views, you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And as the lowest price guaranteed, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Now, for your second listen, check out the other podcast that I host. It's Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That's right. You get twice your pal Sully every single day. Now, you may say, I'm not an A's fan. What do I care? Well, this is a really interesting year to be following the A's. They have the move to Sacramento, some strange possible move to Las Vegas, which I don't believe is going to happen, and a team that, believe it or not, is playing a lot better than people thought they were. Check out Locked On A's. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, thinking about the American League West. Remember, it was the Mariners' division to lose, as they had a 10-game lead as late as June 18th, and now they fell as far back as 5.5 games. But an interesting thing has happened. Now, the Mariners fired their manager. We all saw that. Scott Servais became the first manager ever to have a 10-game lead in a season and wound up getting fired. And since August 11th, the Mariners are 4-10. That's not good. They've dropped 10 of the last 14 games, but they won today. So I guess they're 5-10. They've won 5 of their last 15 games. Now, this was an important game for the win, especially after a frustrating loss yesterday. I must say, I don't believe in blaming the umpires for games, but I will say in last night's game, which was a 3-2 which was a 1-run victory for Tampa Bay, there were some key moments where some called third strikes were made against the Mariners that were nowhere near the strike zone. Can we get some consistency on this, please? Well, today, Seattle fell early to Tampa, with Luis Castillo on the mound, but Castillo was up for the job. And the Mariners wound up scoring 4 runs in the 5th inning, and Julio Rodriguez wound up getting the big hit in the 5th inning with a 2-run home run. Robles also got a 2-run home run, and Rosarena made up for that bad 3rd strike call against him the other day to hit a home run. Luis Castillo didn't pitch great, but he pitched well enough to get the win. And by the end, Seattle had a 6-2 victory. And they are keeping pace with the Astros, who have had their own issues. Yes, the Astros had a wild winning streak leading up through the middle of August. But since then, they've had a bumpy ride. Since the 19th of August, the Astros have won 3 games and have lost 6. And they've got beat up they lost a series to Boston. They lost the series to Baltimore, or I guess they split the series to Baltimore, and they lost the series to Philadelphia going into today's game. And there was a chance for Seattle to chip back and make it a 2.5-game lead. To say the Phillies lost to the Astros today is a mild understatement. The Arrighetti took a no-hitter into the 8th inning. Alvarez hit 3 home runs. It was a 10-0 blowout. 10-0. If the Phillies didn't show up, it would have been a forfeit, and the game would have been 9-0. In other words, in terms of run differential, the Phillies would have done better just not showing up. And the fact that they got 3 hits all game, and all of them after the 7th inning, goes to show they barely did show up to this, didn't they? And so with that, the Astros were able to hold serve and keep the Mariners from encroaching to 2.5 games. Now, Houston has a series against Kansas City. I mentioned that before. These are 2 teams with images of winning a division title dancing in their head right now, which means that series might be one of the most entertaining ones we have all year. After that, Houston's going to play Cincinnati, and then they're going to wind up playing Arizona, which is no easy task, the way that the Diamondbacks have been playing. Now, if you look at the rest of Houston's schedule, you could chuckle and say, okay, they got a series with Oakland, 2 series with the Angels. There's some series that look like will be easy. But we know Oakland is playing a lot better than they had at the beginning of the year. And always beware of lousy teams that people are saying are easy to beat, because they're usually the ones who say, oh, you're not going to beat us on our terms. And when you take a look at the end of the year, when you consider that Houston might be fighting for their playoff lives and Cleveland might be fighting for winning a division title, those 2 teams play each other at the end of the year. Here's what I want when I don't really have a dog in the fight, and I really don't. I want that series to mean something. I want that final series of the year between Houston and Cleveland to mean something. I want it to mean something for Houston, whether or not that means they're going to the playoffs or not. I want that to mean something for the Guardians and the Astros, because I want them both going all at it the final weekend. I want chaos. I want a weekend series that could involve a team desperate to find themselves in the postseason. Is that too much to ask for? I really don't think it is. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps, on PrizePicks it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You could win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in fewer than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks, which is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. This is a reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel called Locked On Sports Today. It's available on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV app, on the free Fire TV channel app. Follow Locked On Sports Today, available wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Seattle under Dan Wilson, as they're basically getting the 1995 band back together with Dan Wilson, the catcher of the Refuse to Lose team, and Edgar Martinez, the Hall of Fame hitter. They won today, which means since Dan Wilson has taken over, they've won the series against San Francisco, and they won the series against Tampa Bay. Now, both of those series could have been sweeps. They had a chance to win that middle game against the Giants and middle game against the Rays. But then again, there was a wild come-from-behind win on Friday, so they could have lost that series to San Francisco. But so far, they're winning. And if you want the Mariners to dust themselves off and make the postseason, this is what they need to do. Now, they're going to play the Angels. They're going to Anaheim to play the Angels, and they have to step up. This is a completely deflated Angels team. This is the completely deflated Angels club who have fallen behind the A's. They're going nowhere. They're an embarrassment. And Seattle can't let them get off the mat. Now, they got series against teams like the A's and the Cardinals and the Rangers, a couple series against the Rangers, a couple against the A's. But we know that the A's, as I mentioned before, are playing a lot better than you thought. And while the Rangers are falling down on their face, remember, they are the defending World Series champions. And maybe they don't want to be run over by an upstart Seattle Mariners club. It is an important series. Now, the Angels do have, the Mariners have Thursday off. So everything has to be focused. I think, now listen to me and listen to me closely. The Mariners have to sweep the Angels. They have to. And the reason is, this is twofold. Because the Astros are playing a 4-game series with the Royals, that's going to be a very tough series for both teams. I don't think there's a way in hell, excuse the language, that any team is going to sweep that. The Mariners are better than the Angels. Most teams are. They can't let the Angels get off the bat, and I do not think that taking 2 out of 3 is enough. Let's say the Astros and the Angels, the Astros and Kansas City split, which I think is a pretty safe bet in a 4-game series. If the Angels sweep, or if the Seattle sweeps the Angels and the Astros split, then they'll pick up 2 games. They'll pick up 2 games on the Houston Astros, which would bring them to a game and a half heading into September. If you're a game and a half out with a month to go, and mind you, 3 more head-to-head games, then you could still win that division. But you have to make up ground. This is a team that had a 15-game swing, and they fell as far back as 5 games just a week ago. If you want to make up those 5 games, winning 2 out of 3 is nice. But when you have a pathetic, and I'm sorry, Angels fans, your team's pretty pathetic right now. If you have a pathetic team that you're playing, you have to sweep them. There's some series here that have to be sweeps. You got to sweep St. Louis. They're a mess. You have to sweep Texas at least once. They're non-contenders. And get yourself to within a game of Houston on the 23rd. You have less than a month to get to within a game of Houston on the 23rd of September, because then winning a series might mean being tied going into the final weekend of the series of the season. And there we go. And brings us to today's trivia question. Talking about first round picks the other day, I got another thing. Rookie of the Year. Who is the only person to win the Rookie of the Year and go on to be the pitcher standing on the mound, getting the final out of the World Series? Only one Rookie of the Year has ever clinched a World Series as a pitcher. Put your answers right down here on YouTube or on Twitter or whatever it's called now. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Taking a look at the wild matchups and realizing we're about to have a fantastic September. This has been Locked On MLB for the 28th day of August. Would have been my grandpa's birthday. Happy birthday, Pa. I know if you can listen to podcasts wherever you are, I hope you're listening to this one. I'm Paul Francis Sullivan, Dr. Vione's grandson, and you can call me Sully.